Hello dear Rimworld lore fans, and welcome back to another lore video. I want to continue with the xenohumans, as I am now close to finishing covering them, and while asked in various videos which one you would like for me to cover next, I feel like the Hazar is the one that was the most requested, so I will be covering the lore of the Hussars xenotype in this video. The Rimworld universe is not a peaceful one. As expansive as it is, peace is rarely an option. From simple tribal disputes over territory and resources to interplanetary wars, people in this universe are no strangers to combat and conflict. It is to be expected that in order to win a war, certain governments will do anything necessary in order to get the edge over their enemies, and it is no surprise that the most important factor in deciding the victor in a conflict is the strength of each faction's troops. Military expertise, tactical thinking, unwavering bodies, and a great mental strength are traits required for any soldier, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that in order to gain the advantage, many governments began bioengineering their soldiers, experimenting on the creation of people whose sole purpose will be to follow orders and prove themselves extremely capable fighters. The result of such experiments was a xenohuman perfectly adapted for combat, the Hazar. It is important to note that a Hazar is never born, rather one becomes a Hazar through the implantation of a Hazar xenogerm. Hussars are, as specified above, the perfect soldiers. A xenohuman engineer for war, Hussars have a great hand-eye coordination, making them extremely capable ranged and melee fighters. To a Hussar, shooting a charge rifle or swinging a plasma sword feels as natural as using a fork or a spoon. But it's not just their proficiency in combat that makes a Hazar a great soldier. Their bodies are also incredibly resilient, turning them into unstoppable war machines. Pain receptors in a Hazar's brain are numbed down to the point where they feel only half of the pain a regular human would, meaning that even if badly wounded, they can push and fight more, shaking off incoming bullets without as much as flinching. Their wounds regenerate 4 times as fast, meaning that with proper medical care, a Hazar will likely spend little time inside an infirmary and, depending on the gravity of the wound, become capable of wielding a weapon again in just a matter of days, even after being gravely wounded. Hussars are also capable of combat nearly everywhere. Their bodies tolerate both cold and hot environments, and they are even capable of surviving for brief periods in toxic environments, as their lungs are capable of partially filtering out toxicity in the air, such as heavy pollution or noxious clouds of poison. The only way to properly poison a Hussar will be to inject the venom directly into their bloodstream. It is not only their bodies that are strong, but their minds too. A Hazar's brain is engineered specifically to be psychically deaf, meaning that they are unaffected by any form of psychic influence such as mind control. The only subjective downside to a Hazar's body is their dependence on go juice. Go juice is a synthetic performance enhancing drug developed for space marines during the early days of interplanetary warfare. Go juice blocks pain, increases movement speed, and improves the user's melee and shooting abilities. The military chemists who created it were never able to remove its addictiveness. Some saw this as a downside, others saw it as a benefit. While go juice is indeed extremely addictive, for Hussars it goes a step further than a simple addiction. It is a need. If not provided with at least one go juice a month, Hussars will fall into a coma, which after another month without go juice will lead to death. It is extremely likely that this dependence was engineered purposefully, as for anyone in control of a Hazar army, it is nothing but an advantage. Sure, it'll cost a little more to maintain alive an army whose life literally depends on a synthetic stimulant, but the benefits far outweigh the cost. First of all, as already stated, go juice will make the already combat capable Hazar even more capable. The second important advantage is that the go juice can be used as a mean to directly control Hussars, making sure they all fall in line and follow orders, using go juice either as a reward system or by threatening to cut them off of it, which would in time weaken and eventually kill them, forcing Hussars to follow orders. Aesthetically, Hussars are not that different from humans, with a few key exceptions. They can only grow short hair, likely an intended feature, as long hair will prove first of all disadvantages in combat for plenty of reason. Hair getting in front of your eyes will make it harder to aim at times, and in a melee fight it could be grabbed by an opponent to create an opening for an attack. Their second more unique feature is their red eyes, which paired with their overall lack of emotions make them famous for their Hazar stare, an expression commonly known for unsettling people. In most societies where Hussars live, they are generally kept separated from the rest of the population. Their frequent violent outbursts and lack of empathy, along with their unsettling eyes, make them hard to adapt to life with regular baseliners. So in the rare moments when they are not participating in a war, Hussars tend to live alone or with other Hussars, isolated from society. After all, Hussars are considered by most not as living beings, rather as weapons. Hussars are aware of this fact. but that doesn't seem to bother them, as after all, no one is born a Hussar, one can only become a Hussar, and it is probably a willing choice by most, as you wouldn't want to give an unwilling soldier or a prisoner the combat capabilities of a Hazar. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, as I will be posting more Rimworld lore videos, as I'm planning to eventually cover the entirety of the Rimworld universe lore. Make sure to leave in the comments what you would like for me to cover next. Have a good night.